Hello and welcome along. So today we're going to talk about the Primarchs again. So I thought we'd do a little bit more of a fun one and look at the Primarchs from the perspective of a legionary joining a legion. So which legion, or more importantly, which Primarch would you most want to serve under? There's a few things to consider here before you just jump for your own favourite, which is effects of gene seed, reputation of the Primarch and their status within the Imperium as a whole, and how that would affect your life, your career, and the way that they treat their Astartes. I think they're the major factors to consider. Before I continue, if you can hear some background noise, I've got some building work going on outside, and I just can't block all of it out. So let's go. So we'll start with the absolutely no way, not going to happen. This is, of course, Angron and Comrade Kurz. Now, I don't think I have to explain this too much, but can you imagine actually being near them for more than a few seconds? You're almost certainly going to get killed. I mean, basically, I think their legionaries must have spent their entire time trying to avoid their Primarchs and then worrying about what their terrible mistake they were next going to make when they went into a battle and got them all killed. It's the worst choice by far. If you had a choice of which legion you're going into, you're not going to pick either of them. I'd love to hear in the comments if anyone here would actually choose to become a World Eater or a Night Lord. Even if you like them as legions, I get it, they're cool in some ways, but you don't want to be in those legions. Anyway, so that's enough said on those two. Next two. Now, this might slightly upset some people. Well, obviously, first, it's Lorgar. So these are the no, thank you, which is Lorgar because his reputation was just generally so bad that it's an embarrassment. You don't want to be a word bearer because they had no respect from the other legions. The other legions did not respect Lorgar, and he was, in many ways, the least capable of all the Primarchs for most of his life before the heresy. Yeah, this is, as an Astarte, that's something you really can't be easy to deal with. I mean, these are people that honour and respect mean a huge amount to them, and you've got a Primarch that doesn't want to be a general, doesn't really want to be involved in wars, has this very different personality from all the other Primarchs, and is generally regarded as a bit of an embarrassment. That must be a tough pill to swallow. Next, along with Lorgar in this category, I've put the Great Lemon, Leman Russ. Why? Well, he's a lemon. Seriously, he's very difficult to be around. He's rude. He's cruel. The Space Wolves have significant genetic problems in their gene seed. You're going to have the good chance that you're going to turn into a werewolf, which you might think is a good idea, but actually probably not. And you've got a terrible recruitment process that means just awful. So one of the most brutal recruitment processes going, and even once you make it into Legion, it's just moving your way through the Legion is incredibly brutal and haphazard. There's a good chance you're going to get terribly injured or killed all the way, at most times, at most steps through your progress through the Legion. You could be the most dedicated warrior within the Legion, and you could still be given a terrible assignment because Leman Russ tells you to, and you've got no comeback. You do what he says, and that's it. There's no communication. There's no give and take as far as Leman Russ goes. On top of that, all the other legions hate you. I mean, there must be one of the most unpopular legions, the Space Wolves. I can't think of. I mean, okay, probably the Night Lords are pretty unpopular, but I've already ruled Comrade Kurz out from the very beginning because he's going to kill you. But after you rule out that Kurz and Angron with their legions and Lorgar with the Wordbearers, the Space Wolves are probably the least popular legion out of all the other legions, and that's because they just go around upsetting all the other legions all the time. And you'd be bearing the brunt of all that. Every time Russ pisses somebody off, insults someone, whatever, you'd be have to take that, and now there's another bunch of people that hate you. Being the fact that you are a Space Wolf, you probably wouldn't care because you quite like that. But before you were one, you probably would. You wouldn't want to choose to join the Space Wolves, would you? No. Okay, so they're done. Next category. So these are the ones that you try and avoid if you could. Okay, it's not a hard no, but you try and avoid it. So Ferrus Manus, the Lion, Perturabo, Mortarion, the Khan, and Alfarius. Why? Well, slightly different reasons, but mainly because they don't particularly care about the people that they are leading. You've got a decent chance of upsetting them quite a lot, and they're very short-tempered, Well, maybe not the Khan or Alfaris so much, but if you're a White Sky, you've got basically no prestige. Barely anyone even knows that you exist. You get all the ship jobs. A lot like being like an Iron Warrior, actually, except that the Iron Warriors have to put up with Perturabo's temper. And if you're an Alpha Legion, and you legionary, so you don't even know who you are. You don't know you could be Alfarius. I'm Alfarius. I don't know. People keep telling me I am. Maybe I am. Am I? Anyway, every mission they go on, it seems like you're probably going to die because at some point in the mission, it's going to require you to sacrifice yourself for the mission to succeed. And we all know in the Alpha Legion, the mission always comes first. So on top of all that, you don't even know if you're doing it for the right reasons. You could be completely on the wrong side, just psychically conditioned to forget who you are. It's an ethical minefield. So they're out. I mean, on the other hand, there's some pretty good benefits that come with being in those legions. So they're not completely out, and they're not obviously as bad as the previous legions and Primarchs I've mentioned. So there are reasons to be like, well, at least I've dodged a bullet with not being made a World Eater, or etc. But still, if you can avoid these legions, probably best to do so. Next one. So the next ones are that's good. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Got Dawn and Gilliman. Why? Well, because they're good. They're good general Primarchs. They're probably not going to mistreat you too badly. Yes, they are quite strict, and you might upset them and be demoted or exiled because you infringed on a minor rule, and that's not good. They're not the most flexible people, but generally speaking, if you stick by the rules, you'll do okay. Yeah, and also they're respected, famous Primarchs. Their legions are respected. You'll get to take part in some important campaigns, and your prestige as an Astarte will grow probably as long as you do a half decent job. Yeah, they're generally successful. You don't have to worry about gene seed problems. You're going to be fine. Then there's Magnus. So Magnus is great Primarch to have. He's going to treat you really well. He's going to help you grow as a person. He's a great and inspirational manager to have. He's a people manager. He will see the brilliance in you and bring that out in you. However, you do have to worry about the flesh change. I mean, there's a lot of benefits of getting Magnus's gene seed, but there's a big downside there. So they equal each other out. If you're a gambler, maybe not for most people, and you get to live on Prospero, which is probably the best place in the galaxy to live. So Prospero is essentially a utopia. You would have a great life there, and as a Thousand Suns, you get to learn everything you want, go on exciting adventures, finding out new things, hidden artifacts and lore. It'd be great as long as you can avoid the flesh change. It's great. Sanguinius, well, again, a brilliant. Inspirational leader to have, someone he's probably the best Primarch in terms of the way he treats his legionaries and the way he nurtures them and develops them. But you do have the slight issue of potentially becoming a vampire, which again, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's probably something to be avoided. Completely losing control of yourself to the red thirst and just jumping on some innocent bystander and sucking them dry. And maybe you'll get locked in a tower somewhere. So you've got that problem, and so it's not perfect, but there is a lot of benefits that come with being a Blood Angel. So he's in here, and then there's Vulcan. Well, Vulcan, a great guy. You want to be around him. If you want to pick one Primarch to be your friend, it's probably Vulcan. However, the Salamander's pretty low prestige legion. They don't really do much. No one really talks about them. You're not probably going to take part in anything particularly relevant, and there's a lot of instability in the gene seed as well. So you have some major problems there. But I think again the benefits outweigh the problems. So I think they deserve to be in this category. I wouldn't mind being assigned to being a Salamander if I was a recruit and they were told which legion do you want to be in, and I were like, yeah, Salamanders work. That's fine. And then finally in this group we've got Corvus Corax. So again, nice guy generally, although he does mistreat his legionaries a bit, but his way of mistreating legionaries is being a bit rude and not giving the promotions they deserve and blaming them for mistakes that have happened. It's not, oh, I'll snap your neck because you walked past me and looked at me a little bit funny, like some of the other Primarchs, or, oh, you said no to me once, so I decapitated you. So he's much more reasonable and nice to be around than a lot of the other Primarchs, and he generally means well. He's always trying to do the right thing. He's a good, very good, competent leader. You'll do pretty well there, but again, not the highest profile Legion. And although there are some gene seed problems, they're not the worst. I mean, you get to be super pale and have black eyes. It's not terrible. I mean, you look like a vampire. You won't become a vampire, unlike the Blood Angels. But anyway, so I think Korax, yeah, he's going to go in this category. Yeah, so that's fine. I'm happy to be one of his sons, and that's fine. So that leaves the top tier, the best possible Primarchs to serve: Fulgrim and Horus. I know, two traitors. Well, obviously, I'm talking about this is before the heresy. I wouldn't want to be in either of those legions during or after the heresy. But if you, this is, let's say, right at the beginning of the Great Crusade, to be a new recruit for one of these legions, you get to pick. You've got to go for Horus or Fulgrim. Why? Because they're great leaders. They're brilliant individual fighters. They're great generals, and they treat their legionaries very well. Again, they promote excellence. They give people a chance to be the best version of themselves, and their gene seed has no negative effects. They are both prestigious, respected legions as well, so you don't get any of the hate or the problems of being dismissed or relegated to the shit jobs like some of the other legions. They've got the full package there. Now, obviously, if you were to pick one, you'd probably have to go with Horus out of the two because he's the favourite son of the Emperor. So you get that little bit extra prestige of being part of his legion. So there you go, Horus. Controversial, perhaps, but if you didn't know anything about the heresy, he is the best choice. And I don't want to hear any arguments in the comments. None. Come on. But seriously, Horus is the best choice. You get all the prestige. And I know some of you are thinking, well, actually, although he went really bad in the heresy, before that he was still a bit dodgy. But actually, he wasn't. He was a very good person. There's a moment, actually, I think, where he sees Sanguinius killing a Blood Angel because the Blood Angel's fallen to the Red Thirst. And he's horrified by it. You can't imagine how a Primarch could actually hurt one of his own sons. He genuinely saw his legionaries as his sons. He was very good at parenting them. He wants the best for them all the time, and he does treat them very well. So he's not the monster that he became. He's not there just in wait. He's not like many of the other Primarchs were pretty bad even before the heresy and mistreated their sons all the time. Horus didn't do that. And you get the big benefits of Horus's reputation and obviously his closeness to the Emperor, etc., and the lack of any gene seed issues. So he is all the full package. Horus is number one. All the things I just said probably go for Fulgrim as well, just that obviously they're slightly a step down because they don't have the prestige that the Lunar Wolves had as being Horus's Legion, as the War Master's Legion. So, but still a great choice. Honestly, though, tell me what you think in the comments. Who would you pick? Please try to avoid just picking your favourite because Horus and Fulgrim are not my favourite Primarchs, but it's just logically they're the best choices here. But who do you think? Yeah, otherwise just like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.